Hello. In this video, we're going to look at some examples of combining the chain rule with the product and quotient rule. So our first example we have f of x equals negative 4x squared plus or times the quantity 2x cubed plus 5 raised to the 10th. Now overall, this is a product, and so we're going to use the product rule first. So our first part is the negative 4x squared times the derivative of the second. Now our second part here, when we take that derivative, it is going to involve the chain rule. Remember that the chain rule says we're going to take our inside function and we're going to treat it as a substitution to g or something like that raised to the 10th. So if we have g to the 10th, if we take the derivative of that, that's going to be 10 times our g to the 9th. But since that g is not just an x, we need to multiply by the derivative of the inside, and the derivative of 2x cubed plus 5 is 6x squared. So all of that is going to make up the derivative of our second, plus our second, 2x cubed plus 5 to the 10th, times the derivative of the first, and the derivative of negative 4x squared is negative 8x. Now let's clean this up just a little bit. We can combine, because all of this piece right here is all multiplied together, so we can kind of combine. We've got negative 4 times 10 times 6. That's going to be negative 240 for our coefficient. And then we have x squared times x squared. That's x to the 4th. And we have our 2x cubed plus 5 to the 9th. And then on the end, not really a whole lot of simplification. I am going to reorder that and put that negative 8x at front, but that's all. And you could leave it like this, but if you notice, we do have a greatest common factor here, and we are in calculus going to be solving when these are equal to 0 later on. And so let's go ahead and factor out our greatest common factor. Negative 240x to the 4th and negative 8x have a GCF of negative 8x. And then they both have a factor of 2x cubed plus 5. So we want to pull out the smallest power of that, in this case a 9. When we factor out that GCF, we pulled out the negative. We factored out an 8, but that's going to leave us with 30 for our coefficient. And then we pulled out 1x, but we have 3 x's remaining. We pulled out all of our 2x cubed plus 5 to the 9th in our first term, but we have one more in our second term. Since we pulled out this negative, it is going to be a plus 2x cubed plus 5. And we can combine like terms inside the brackets there. And that's going to simplify to 32x cubed plus 5. So that would be a factored form, but any of these would be considered the derivative. All right, now let's look at one that involves the quotient rule. So we have y equals 2x plus 3 all over 4x plus 1 raised to the 6th. So this one overall, this is a quotient, so we're going to start out using the quotient rule. The bottom is 4x plus 1 to the 6th times the derivative of the top, which is 2, minus the top, which is 2x plus 3, times the derivative of the bottom. Here, this is going to involve the chain rule. So if we wanted to look at this, we're substituting in for our 4x plus 1, so our derivative is going to be 6 times that raised to the 5th. And since that's not just an x, we need to multiply by the derivative of the inside there, which is 4. All of that is over our bottom squared. And again, I want to look at some common factors here. We do have in the numerator, both terms have a factor of a 2, and both terms have a factor of 4x plus 1. So I'm going to factor out that GCF of 2 times 4x plus 1. I always want to pull out the smallest power. In this case, the smallest power on that 4x plus 1 is a 5. If we factor that out, we pulled out the 2, and we pulled out 5 of those 4x plus 1s, but we'll have one more 4x plus 1 and then we'll get minus 2x plus 3 times 6 times 4. All of that over here we have a power raised to a power, so we're going to multiply those exponents and we'll get 4x plus 1 to the 12th. Now we do have a common factor here, this 4x plus 1 to the 5th and 4x plus 1 to the 12th. We can divide that out and it's going to subtract 5 from our exponent. So we're going to get 2 times, inside those square brackets, we get 4x plus 1. And then here we get 24 times, if we distribute that, 24 times 2x is going to be 48x, and 24 times 3 is 72. And then in the denominator we still have 4x plus 1 to the 7th. If we distribute this negative and combine like terms, we get 2 times 4x and negative 48x give us negative 44x, and then 1 minus 72 is negative 71. We could go ahead and factor out that negative there, but that would be as far as we could go in simplifying it. All right, let's do one more example. Here we have g of x equals the quantity x plus 5 over 3x minus 1. That entire fraction is raised to the 5th power. So this one overall is a chain rule. Our inside function is going to be that fraction. So when we take the derivative of this, we're going to get 5 times that parentheses to the 4th. We're in the parentheses. We get x plus 5 over 3x minus 1 times the derivative of that. Well, that's a quotient, so we're going to have to use the quotient rule on that. Our bottom is 3x minus 1 times the derivative of x plus 5 is 1 minus our top, x plus 5 times the derivative of 3x minus 1 is 3, all over that denominator, 3x minus 1 squared. I'm going to go ahead and write this, instead of writing this fraction raised to the 4th, I'm going to go ahead and write each of those pieces, x plus 5 raised to the 4th and 3x minus 1 raised to the 4th. Then if we simplify this numerator, we're going to get 3x minus 1, and then I'm going to distribute a negative and a 3 at the same time. So negative 3 times x and negative 3 times 5. All of that is over 3x minus 1 squared. So we get 5 times x plus 5 to the 4th. The numerator here, those 3x's are going to cancel. We'll get negative 1 minus 16, or sorry, minus 15 will be negative 16. In the denominator, we get 3x minus 1 raised to the 4th times 3x minus 1 squared. Power times a power, you add those exponents. And then if we go ahead and pull that 16 out front, because all that's multiplied together, 5 times negative 16 is a negative 80. We still have our x plus 5 to the 4th over 3x minus 1 to the 6th. All right, I'll see you guys next time.